Oh, great.
These videos are satiric reviews. You don't have to agree, but don't bitch about it. I hate this channel.
Hey there, I'm Social Injustice Warrior V Infuso, and despite some of the things I say or do on this channel, I actually am a pretty big fan of Vince McMahon. Sure, he's basically a deranged inmate that somehow got the keys to the asylum, but the man for a good portion of time knew how to capture the interest of wrestling audiences worldwide, being a defining part of the Attitude Era not just as the man responsible for it, but as a key component in it as well. But something that might be forgotten is that Vince McMahon, the boss, the man in charge, also is a former multiple-time world champion. And let me tell you, you don't just become a multiple-time world champion just for nothing.
Yes, you do, because you gave them to yourself.
Vince's first major title win would come in September of 1999, after returning from an on-screen exodus to a babyface pop. You see, at that year's Fully Loaded event, Stone Cold Steve Austin faced The Undertaker for the WWF Championship, with an additional stipulation that if The Undertaker lost, Vince would no longer appear on WWF TV. And he didn't. Until eventually he did again. McMahon would return to his creation on an episode of SmackDown being booked in a main event against Triple H for his WWF Championship. The match began after Triple H cut a promo on the boss and insulted his wife Linda. Shane McMahon would serve as the special guest referee for this bout, and the match, like all Vince McMahon matches, wasn't exactly a 5-star classic.
Well, I'm afraid this is not going to be much of a match. Triple H now. Oh, my God. Look at this now on Vince. Come on now. He's trying to prove here. Oh, do this, Triple H. Wait, no, don't do that. Oh, Vince is hurt. Come on, somebody's got to stop this thing.
It wasn't exactly a technical marvel. It wasn't anything to write home about, but it was a memorable moment nonetheless. With run-ins from Chyna, Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe, Linda McMahon, and the deciding factor of Stone Cold Steve Austin, the match would end with Vince McMahon becoming the champion of his own company. And while, yeah, sure, he isn't a wrestler per se, one could argue that he was such a huge part of the company and the era at the time that from a character standpoint, Vince might be the perfect fit for champion. I mean, just imagine the evil heel boss things he could do. He could have other wrestlers wrestle on his behalf in his place to defend his belt, stack the cards against his opponents, continually book unfairly just to try and stay champion. There were plenty of things that could be done here. And yet, it wasn't to be. What instead happened was the next Monday Night Raw, Vince would come out and announce that he was forfeiting the title because of the stipulation placed on the match at Fully Loaded. So he basically came out of retirement, won the big one, and then announced he was still retired. I don't know about you, but that makes sense to me. I think that this was a huge missed opportunity, and the title reign could have actually been worked into a decent story. Instead, it immediately became pointless and just seemed like something put in place to swerve fans and serve Vince's ego.
I became the World Wrestling Federation champion. Per a previous contract, I am prohibited from engaging in day-to-day business activities. I am relinquishing the World Wrestling Federation Championship.
In 2007, Vince McMahon began a feud with the future president of the United States, Donald Trump, in which both chose a representative to fight on their behalf. Vince McMahon chose Umaga, and Donald Trump chose Bobby Lashley. Lashley would win that match, and as per the stipulation, Vince McMahon was shaved bald. I forgot to mention that, but there it is. After his WrestleMania humiliation, Vince set his sights on the then ECW champion, Bobby Lashley. Vince McMahon would team up with his son Shane and their insurance policy, Umaga, in a 3-on-1 handicap match for Lashley's championship. And with the deck stacked against him in such a way, Lashley would lose that match, making Vince McMahon the ECW champion. Vince McMahon, ECW champion. And the ECW originals weren't shy at all in telling everyone just how they felt about their new world champion.
ECW died because of you, Vince McMahon.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon, ECW heavyweight champion? The thought of it makes me wanna puke. Vince McMahon has always wanted this. That very nature of ECW was anti-Vince McMahon. Imagine the glory that Vince felt watching that organization die and then reviving it in his own image. And now we're in the ECW Heavyweight Championship.
McMahon would showcase his newfound extremeness, try to imagine the air quotes on that, by wearing a do-rag. Yeah, I don't know what he was going for either, but I'll tell you what, it worked.
I'm Prison Mike.
Do you really expect us to believe you're somebody else?
Do you really expect me to not push you up against the wall, biatch?
I don't know, there's just something about an old, out-of-date white man trying to act gangsta that fills me up with this sense of nostalgia. Probably because I grew up watching the NWO Wolfpack. Shots. And say what you will about Vince winning the ECW title and how awful it is that he's now a part of that belt's lineage, because it's terrible. But at least this was an actual title reign. He didn't just win the title then toss it away the next night like he did with the WWF Championship all those years before. Again, yeah, it sucks. It sucks that Vince McMahon's fingerprints are all over the ECW title, but did he really make a worse world champion than Kane, or Matt Hardy, or Chavo Guerrero, or the one-day reign of Ezekiel Jackson? I don't think so. McMahon as champion was so outrageous, so ridiculous in concept and execution, that for me, and I'm just speaking for myself at least, I couldn't help but watch in awe. Sure, this isn't a moment remembered fondly by wrestling fans. Hell, I'm sure half of you already forgot about this time period, and I bet the other half of you wish you could forget about this time period.
The champ is here.
What up, G?
What's up, Holmes?
You had your obligatory return match, and you didn't get the job done, son.
Unless ECW stands for extremely crazy white guy, all I'm seeing is a stooge in a do-rag.
Peace out.
Overall, the reign lasted 2 months, and really just served as a means of trying to get the then rising star Bobby Lashley over with the audience. And I think I like this reign so much because it showcased Vince as what we all know him to be now. A very, very out of touch, delusional, deranged egomaniac. And I say that as a compliment. Kind of. You gotta hand it to the creative team, that is perfect booking. Vince would later lose the title back to Bobby Lashley in a street fight on the One Night Stand pay-per-view.
For one fall is a street fight for the ECW World Title. ECW World Champion, Mr. Mcmahon. And to Colorado Springs, Colorado, weighing 273 pounds, Bobby Lashley.
In all seriousness, after
the ECW World Title. Mr. McMahon, he was victorious at WrestleMania and maybe tonight at One Night Stand.
Down an athlete of any
timing. Watch out.
Man, now right up. Backlash basically made Shane McMahon and
Umaga do all the dirty work before
something in his hand, Mr. McMahon, choking out Lashley.
Has been in a second. You don't cross the ball, and this is why.
Mr. McMahon shades of Lashley. Oh!
It's not good.
Bobby Lashley is defenseless.
Oh, the German.
Oh! And here comes illegal.
Is it going to be the Dominator?
Oh my God! No! Watch out! Again, the chin to make the pinfall. Pounds is coming. Cannon for the Lashley smash. Oh man! Come on! 2, 1. Well, you better not. Mr. McMahon deserved that. Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Thus ending Vince's time as a world champion. What a shame.
For those of you who don't believe that anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation, I guess you're a believer now.
That's the truth.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You're watching the Social Injustice Warrior V Infuso's channel, dude. So if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too want to become a V-tard, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that little bell icon to get updates and notifications. Ooh, tell him what up, Mach. Ooh, yeah. Yeah! Follow the man on Twitter, yeah! Because we all know it's not stalking if it's on the internet, yeah! Join the madness by joining the Discord. And if you have a moment of time and a free dollar to spare, head over to the SIJW's Patreon, dig it? Where you can request videos, get exclusive videos, and early access to content, yeah. Or go down to PayPal, where you can buy the shirts, brother. But most importantly, just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.